NecroBoy Path to Evilship fittingly launched on October 31st, 2022. Developed by Chillin' Wolf and published by Gravity Game Arise Co., the game follows the titular NecroBoy as he attempts to become the greatest Lord of Evil in history. Accompanied by his trusty sidekick Lackey, NecroBoy ventures into the crypt of the infamous NecroMan. Hoping to take the power of NecroMan, NecroBoy raises the souls of the dead inside of this crypt in order to navigate his way through the puzzles that inhabit it. As we progress through the crypt, we learn some backstory of NecroBoy, learning that the reason he wants to increase his powers is in order to surround himself with Necro minions. NecroBoy regularly comments on how alone he feels, and believes that by surrounding himself with minions he has resurrected, this will leave him feeling whole. The problem arises from the fact that currently, NecroBoy can only give minions life for a certain amount of time. In order to have these minions around permanently, NecroBoy needs the power found within the crypt to increase his abilities, making it so that the minions become permanent. The story of NecroBoy Path to Evilship is a relatively simple one. It's a story of the ramifications of bullying, the lengths that people will go to try and fit in, and about how the first step is loving yourself. Unfortunately for the gameplay itself is as simple as the plot. NecroBoy is a puzzle-based game that revolves around levels that the player has to complete. Each level sees the player controlling NecroBoy in an attempt to reach the end of the level and navigating his way through various puzzles. Some of these puzzles involve gates that need opening in particular orders, some involve interacting with certain parts of the world. But the goal is always the same: raise the spirits of the dead in the crypt and solve the puzzles to progress. As you progress through the levels, you begin to gain new abilities. These include being able to put to sleep groups of minions or wake up groups of minions. What this allows the player to do is this allows the player to separate minions into different groups and then utilize them in the correct way. See, minions will follow you around like lost ducklings unless you put them to sleep. So many of the later levels involve putting to sleep a set amount of minions in order to use later, having the minions that you have with you follow you around, and then locking them behind a certain gate in order to trap them so that they don't follow you. You can then wake up the first group of minions and then use them to complete the puzzle. NecroBoy Path to Evilship does feature some boss-esque levels. However, I wouldn't necessarily call them boss battles, as for the most part they just follow the mechanics of the normal levels. In terms of the visual aesthetic of the game and the audio quality of the game itself, these are all relatively par for what we would expect for an indie game. The art style itself is perfectly fine, and the audio itself adds to the game somewhat, but is unfortunately for the most part rather forgetful. The model of NecroBoy himself moves in a very clunky way and gives the impression of a very young indie developer who is still finding their feet in the world of gaming. And so what this results in is an extremely mediocre experience. While the gameplay mechanics themselves can be very fun, they do grow very tiresome very quickly. The game is clunky in its appearance, and the story is rather trite and cliche and doesn't really leave the player wanting to know what happens. That being said, the way that the puzzles are laid out and the means in which they are solved does give some hope that future installments from this developer may be a hidden gem. So because of this, I will definitely be keeping my eye on Chillin' Wolf and seeing what comes next from them, but I don't believe that I can recommend NecroBoy Path to Evilship to you. If you like this content and if you like reviews, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There will be a bunch of reviews coming soon. I'm also going to start doing some gameplay videos as well. I will be streaming on Twitch, so if you fancy watching that, then come on in, have a little chat. Everything is linked down below in the description. There is a link tree with all of the links that you could need. And with that all said, I'll see you guys in the next video.